They chainsawed through our fence like it was garbage on the curb. 3 men in matching polos barking orders at 8 in the morning while I stood there half awake in yesterday's coffee-stained shirt. In 3 minutes, they erased 40 years of my grandfather's craftsmanship. And when Walter walked out onto the porch dragging that belt-fed M60 into the sunlight, the entire balance of power flipped in an instant. That was the moment I realized this wasn't some neighborly dispute, it was war over our own land. My name's Daniel Martin. I'm 28, a high school history teacher, and I live with my grandfather Walter on the land my family's held since the 70s. That wooden gate they destroyed wasn't just wood and nails, it was a monument to my childhood, to every storm that gate had weathered since 1983. And yet, at 8 o'clock on a Tuesday, I heard the scream of a chainsaw and looked out my window to see strangers dressed in cheap uniforms with HOA patrol stitched across their chests. No badges, no paperwork, no explanation, just arrogance. I rushed outside shouting, demanding to see notices or violation letters, but the man with the clipboard only smirked, telling me they didn't need licenses for community enforcement. That was the moment my stomach sank. Real authority doesn't come with embroidery and attitude, it comes with law. I tried to keep calm, but watching that chainsaw bite into the beam of our gate sent fury rushing through me. I yelled about due process, about how they'd skipped every legal step, but they laughed in my face. When the gate finally toppled, crashing to the ground with a sound that echoed down the street, I felt something break inside me. It wasn't just a fence. It was our history being treated like trash. That's when Walter stepped out, coffee cup in hand, his 82-year-old eyes cold and steady. He didn't yell, he didn't argue. He just walked to the shed and dragged out a relic from Vietnam, that M60, set it on the porch table, and said in his calm voice, "Just having coffee on my own land." The chainsaw stopped. The clipboard man blanched. They packed up and ran, muttering that they'd be back with real authorities. The whole scene should have ended there, but it didn't. Mrs. Patterson across the street filmed everything, and the kid with the GoPro had been streaming it live. By noon, the internet had exploded, tens of thousands of views, headlines screaming about a gun-toting old man, strangers calling my grandfather dangerous, others hailing him a hero. Reporters camped on our street, neighbors complained about the circus, and my inbox flooded with threats. I'm a teacher, not a soldier. I found myself staring at the news, thinking maybe I'd made a mistake, maybe I should have just kept my mouth shut and let them take the damn gate. There was a night I sat alone asking myself if I'd dragged Walter into something he didn't deserve. For a few hours, I wanted to give up. But then I started digging. I pulled up HOA bylaws, city codes, state statutes. Every real rule said they had to give 30 days written notice hearings, court orders. None of that had happened. What we faced wasn't an overzealous HOA, it was something else. That's when I got the anonymous text. Check Pinnacle development permits. Follow the money. My hands shook as I searched the records. And there it was, a project called Sunset Ridge. A massive development requiring road expansion with one problem: our gate sat directly in the way. Suddenly, it all made sense. They weren't enforcing community safety. They were clearing land for a corporation too cheap to pay for it. I told Walter, and he just nodded like he'd seen this kind of tactic before. "These aren't officials, Daniel," he said. "They're thieves hiding behind fake badges." That was the turning point. I stopped feeling powerless. I started printing documents, building a case file like I was prepping for trial. And then Deborah Richardson, the HOA president herself, finally showed up. Perfect blonde bob, sharp suit, and a voice dripping with authority she didn't actually have. She marched up our driveway with men in dark suits demanding we surrender Walter's M60 as an unregistered weapon. My blood boiled. I told her to show me a warrant. She couldn't. Walter's voice cut through steady as steel. "You have no badge, no warrant, no standing. This is private land in the United States of America." She left red-faced, muttering threats, but I knew she'd be back. Sure enough, the next week she returned, staging an official compliance inspection. This time, I was ready. I hit live stream as soon as their SUVs rolled up. Deborah announced her demands, waving papers that looked official until one of her men fumbled, spilling documents across our porch. For a split second, the camera caught a bright logo stamped at the top, Pinnacle Development. Thousands of viewers saw it live. The chat exploded, screenshots everywhere. In that moment, the mask slipped. The fraud was undeniable. Deborah's face drained of color as the crowd of neighbors began shouting, filming, demanding answers. From there, it spiraled. A fellow board member secretly handed us audio recordings, Deborah on tape mocking residents as old people collecting Social Security, while Pinnacle executives ordered her to clear obstacles, whatever it takes. My chest clenched, hearing it rage mixing with disgust. This wasn't incompetence. It was conspiracy. The breaking point came at 2 a.m. when motion lights flared and 3 figures crept into our yard with lock cutters and demolition tools. I grabbed my phone and went live. Walter stepped out with the American flag in one hand, the M60 gleaming behind him. "Gentlemen, you're committing felonies on private land," he declared, his voice calm but carrying across the yard. 5,000 people watched in real time as they froze under the floodlights. When another folder slipped and Pinnacle's logo flashed again, it was over. Neighbors poured into the street, phones raised, shouting that they'd had enough. Deborah's men bolted, abandoning tools, their license plates and faces caught on camera. The sheriff arrived minutes later, reviewing Walter's paperwork and confirming what everyone already knew. The patrol had no authority, no license, nothing but lies. Within days, investigators and the district attorney swooped in. The recordings, the live streams, the permits. It was all laid out like a case study in organized fraud. Deborah pleaded guilty to conspiracy and fraud. Pinnacle executives faced federal RICO charges. The fake patrol scattered their arrogance, reduced to criminal records. Standing there looking at the shattered remains of our gate one last time, I felt no victory celebration, just a quiet certainty that we'd faced something rotten and cut it out at the root. We didn't win with bullets, we won with truth, with witnesses, with the simple act of refusing to bow to fake authority. And the lesson: fake authority only works if you let it.